Hi, everybody. Analisa Six here with the Lady of Leisure and the Sober Curator to bring you the May 2024 Astrology Forecast. How's it going, everybody? April. Wow. So happy it's over. I just everything for my personal life that I assumed was going to happen in April did during the Mercury retrograde. And I just feel like the more I do astrology and the longer I utilize these tools in my life, the more predictable everything becomes. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Either way, I'm here. It's kind of like the ignorance is bliss thing. Like once you know something, you can't unknow it. Or, um, yeah, it's astrology is hard that way because I think there's so much those of us who are seekers or are curious about life and kind of wanting to know what our purpose is in this world or what to expect or what we should be doing with our time. It's really hard for us to not want to peel back all of the layers to all of the spiritual practices or these types of modalities. And I feel like I wonder what my life would have been like if I had never gone down the astrology rabbit hole for sure. Because there's no going back now. But yeah, April was a doozy. I feel like a lot of us went through a lot of interesting shifts and changes. And, Mercury is direct now, starting out May 1st, but we are still in the shadow period until Sunday. So today is Wednesday, May 1st. Happy May 1st. Happy Taurus season. Happy birthday to all the May Taurus babies. And it's also the end of May is Gemini season. So happy birthday to all the May Geminis. May is one of the best months of the year. And so is June. June, we have a lot of really good energy too. Not saying that we won't have our challenges or our struggles because life is going to life. But the astrology for the year, May and June, are some of the most blessed and kind of easy flowing um, just kind of energies that we have at our disposal. And I don't know about you guys, but I definitely feel the shift today. I almost forgot that it was also Beltane today, which is a Galaic slash Celtic um, festival. It's something that was celebrated for a long time. If you're not familiar with it, you can look it up. Beltane. It's a fire festival. It celebrates the coming of summer and fire energy, kind of what fire symbolizes, which is interesting. And I personally have always had a really positive relationship with this time of year. When I was younger, growing up in the Pacific Northwest, spring was a really challenging time for me. The end of winter and spring, the whole kind of like beginning of the Gregorian calendar was always really challenging. And I feel like it was around this time when I personally started to feel more of a rebirth and resurgence of energy. And so I think that we're feeling a lot of that today, not just because the weather and the seasonal shift, but also because of the mercurial shift of Mercury, moving, closer out of its shadow and some of the astrological weather getting a little less turbulent as we're moving forward. So this is a really positive time to just since we have this more positive in alignment energy to move forward on maybe some of the things that weren't really going so well for you over the beginning of the year. Like if you felt kind of stifled or like things were just taking a while to sort out, May and June, we should feel more momentum during those months. And it's a good time to kind of take action on things like working on new projects if you're have goals with work and different things that you're trying to do, like those types of things. Moving, if you I know a lot of people who are moving right now, and if that's something that you're doing, that it's a really positive time for kind of setting intentions around that. Work stuff, if you're transitioning a lot at work or getting a promotion, if you're leaving a job, like there's so much energy around transition right now for everybody. And so this is a positive time that if you've been kind of in this holding pattern, you might start to feel like things are moving forward more directly. So let's talk about where we start the month out at. So the sun is at 11 degrees Taurus. Mercury is at 7 degrees of Aries. Venus is at 2 degrees Taurus. So Venus entered Taurus at the end of April, and Venus is one of the rulers of, well, is the ruler of Taurus, but she also rules Libra. So Taurus is one of the signs that Venus rules. So she's in domicile. She's happy here. This is a really positive energy for us. So that's another reason why the energy might feel more, kind of in alignment or or release is because Venus is where she likes to be. Mars entered Aries today, and Mars entering Aries is also really positive energy. I mean, it's intense. There's a lot of action, a lot of passion, but Mars in Aries, Mars is one of, Mars rules Scorpio and Aries. Aries is one of the signs that Mars, does really well in. And so that's why there's a lot of this kind of like action oriented, it's time for things to move forward energy, because Mars is here saying, yep, let's do it. And it's doing it in a way that it is positively expressed. So having Venus in the grounded earth energy of Taurus and having Mars in its home sign of Aries, this is a really powerful combination, and it's a really good energy. It's a really positive energy for us to be feeling. Again, this is a generalization, so the way that it's activated in your chart specifically is unique to you. If that's something that you want to explore more, I am booking readings for May still, and you can look in the description box and the info for how to book a one-on-one session with me. It is in there. We still have Jupiter passing through Taurus up until the very end of the month. Jupiter is going to be making a major transition this month. We'll talk about that later. And then Saturn is in Pisces still for the rest of the month. And we've got Uranus in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces, and Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto is going to be stationing retrograde in Aquarius for quite some time. It's going to station direct in October. So we'll have Pluto retrograde in Aquarius until October. So the way that I do these horoscopes, if you're new here, is I go through each day of the month. It's a lot. So if you don't want to sit through this, I totally understand. But since this is an astrology forecast, I go over the major transits and just talk a little bit about the way that you can utilize some of that energy in your life. And then I do a horoscope video for each sign. So today, starting out, we have a Venus square to Pluto. So it started yesterday, depending on what time zone you're in. But a Venus square to Pluto is pretty intense when it comes to our relationship dynamics. So Pluto is the planet that represents death and rebirth, transformation. Wherever Pluto is, we're experiencing a big change or a big shift. And then Venus represents our relationships. And so this can be our relationship to other people romantically. It can be friendships. It can also be our relationship to self. The way it influences you really will be dependent on where Venus is in your chart currently. But usually a Venus square to Pluto represents some big shift or change that we feel needs to happen in the way that we're approaching relationship. And squares are challenges. So we might feel some tension around that. Maybe there's a big shift or a big change we know needs to happen, but we're not necessarily feeling comfortable with making those shifts or those changes. Venus in Taurus, Taurus has a lot to do with boundaries and also self-worth. There's a lot of focus on self-worth with Venus and Aries that we just came through reflecting on during the Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde in Aries and Venus in Aries were kind of a part of this reflection on who am I, what do I want? Now with Venus and Taurus, we might be in this place where we know more clearly what we want. And now we're feeling like we need to assert that maybe in certain ways with Mars and Aries and Venus and Taurus. We might be thinking, okay, I know what I want. I know what I want to go after. Now there's changes that need to be made in my relationship dynamics with people around how to make those changes. We also have the moon in Aquarius starting out May. So the moon will be, aspecting that Pluto. And, I think the conjunction to Pluto happened already. It happened on the 30th, but it's going to go through Aquarius as well and kind of be influencing some of that energy. On May 2nd, Pluto stations retrograde. And like I said, we'll be there until October. And Pluto retrograde, so all retrogrades have a reflect and review kind of energy to them. A retrograde cycle is kind of, okay, where is this planet hitting in our chart? What sign is it in? What does that sign represent? What does that planet represent? What is it aspecting in our charts? And then how do we kind of utilize that energy to really do the work that this planetary alignment is kind of calling to us? Sorry, I feel like I'm tripping on words a lot, but essentially, Pluto being the agent of transformation, death, and rebirth, and Aquarius being the sign that represents community and group organizations, politics, technology. Pluto and Aquarius, I should have done a video just about Pluto and Aquarius, but Pluto and Aquarius, a lot of the theme around it has to do with advancements in society. Aquarius is the change maker. Aquarius is the energy that wants social justice, social change, activism that benefits the community or the greater whole of a social movement. And so when we see Pluto here, especially when Pluto is going to be here for the next 20 years, there's huge transformation and change happening within the collective. Artificial intelligence has been a big theme amongst astrologers around what we think is going to be really dominant during this time period. Technology advancements happening at a very fast pace. And, the thing that's interesting about Aquarius being, kind of this socially focused sign, it wants a new life. It wants a new, I don't want to say normal, because I don't think Aquarius ever wants normal. I think Aquarius wants to feel that it's advancing or constantly changing to bring more awareness to things that could be revolutionary to the way things have previously been done. I feel really sensitive at using the word better or like good. Like, I don't want to use the word better or good in terms of change, because I think that Aquarius energy, everything's subjective. Like, there's a lot of people that, okay, I'm getting really philosophical. My Sagittarius mind is getting really philosophical about this. I don't know how helpful this is, but I'm thinking about how a lot of times the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? And so it's very common with Aquarius energy to know that something is wrong and something could be better. Maybe the nuclear family structure, we see a lot of fault in that family structure. So Aquarius might come in and say, we could do this in a more progressive, advanced way. Aquarius can sometimes throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to seeing kind of what could be done in a more progressive, positive way, but forgetting that sometimes there's things that are beneficial about the past or an older way that we were doing something, and that maybe we need to slow down a little bit. Like, Aquarius doesn't always know how to slow down. It could kind of charge ahead and say, I know what's right. I know what needs to be done. And so with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, we have this opportunity to reflect on the way change is being influenced in our lives and whether or not we feel we are on a path that's in alignment with that change. Pluto is a karmic energy. So a lot of times when we're going through a heavy Pluto transit, we're experiencing lessons from not just our recent past or our past from long ago, but it could also be past lives, because if we believe in karma, we're believing in the fact that our energy has done this before. There's some wisdom in our energy field. And so what are we kind of trying to learn from this experience? I'm trying to think if I can use an anecdotal experience for this. I know for me, I've had a lot of cycles where I've learned certain things in certain ways, and then I'll kind of think that I have it figured out or done, and then life goes by, and then I'll kind of end up returning back to something that I thought I was done with, that I didn't think I was going to have to learn again. And then I'm in it and I'm like, oh, there's another layer to this. And now I'm learning a deeper level of this lesson. And then now I'm evolving, growing, and changing around the deeper version of that lesson. And I think that's a really good way to think about Pluto and Aquarius energy, where we're given opportunities to reflect maybe on something we've been through before. I think what's happening, with the war in the Middle East is a great example of this, because it's not like it's the first time that this has happened. This has been a problem for a long time. Anti-Semitism has been a problem for a long time. There's cycles, we watch this and we're kind of like, oh my gosh, this is still happening in our world today. What are we here to learn from it? What changes can we make that are better? And there's so many things that, we could have questions about in terms of, if we look back at World War II with everything, like the United Nations was born out of that. And the United Nations, there's been a lot of problematic stuff going on in how the United Nations is regulating peace. That was kind of the point of the United Nations, was to make sure these things don't happen, we don't end up in a world war, which, I'm not I don't like talking about politics. I'm not an electional astrologer. I'm not into talking about politics with astrology in terms of my own personal practice, although I pay attention to it, but it's not my area of expertise. So I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole. But it's just kind of, those are themes with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. You know, Aquarius rules politics to some degree in terms of social change and advancements in technology. And so as a collective, you know, Pluto retrograde, we might be really in this state of watching some of the things that have been being pushed forward quickly, like reflect, review, maybe we need to reassess. You know, there's some backlash maybe to some of the things that are going on. The moon is also going to be entering Pisces tomorrow on the 2nd. And so we'll have the moon in Pisces for a couple days. Moving on to Friday, May 3rd, our next significant transit is Mars is going to be making a sextile to that Pluto and Aquarius energy. So Mars is going to be in Aries. Sextiles are very harmonious. However, Mars and Pluto are not necessarily what I consider harmonious energies. Mars is action oriented. And while that can be really beneficial and positive, an aspect to Pluto can sometimes feel really volatile. And so, you know, this is a really good time to make change. It's a really good time to, you know, transform something, do something different in your life, but it's also an energy where we could be overly reactive, overly sensitive. We could rush into something that we're not really ready for. So, you know, sextiles are supporting it. So there's also a divine wisdom in learning those lessons. But, you know, it's an intense energy, but it's also a really good time. Like, here's a way that I would say this energy is really positive. I want to completely redo my website. I've been waiting until Mercury is out of this shadow period to do it. And, you know, I want to kind of rebrand and change some ways that I've been doing it. This energy is probably really positive for the rebrand kind of thing, especially having Venus in Taurus, because Venus in Taurus is aesthetically very well received. You know, there's good ideas that come out of that. And then Mars sextiling Pluto, it's like, this is a great time for positive changes that you're taking action with. So those are some things to think about. On Saturday, May 4th, May the 4th be with you, is that holiday. And then we're also going to have the moon entering Aries in the afternoon. We don't have any major transits, but we are going to still be under the influence of that Venus square to Pluto and Mars sextile to Pluto. I mean, this energy too, it feels very much like endings of relationships and new relationships beginning. That's been a big theme pretty much since Venus stationed retrograde in Leo last year. We've seen a lot of shifts in people's lives. And so there's a big shift happening still kind of from that start, and the eclipse in Aries and Libra has been kind of continuing on with some of those stories. And I think that this kind of Venus square to Pluto with Mars sextile to Pluto, and then, you know, kind of this lunar energy, we're definitely in a place where we're like, okay, we've been through the storm, this shift is happening, I'm ready to make some drastic changes. Sunday, Cinco de Mayo, and also it says Orthodox Easter in here on the calendar. We don't have any major transits happening on Sunday, but it is the last day that Mercury is in its shadow period. And so we are going to be feeling a release of that mercurial kind of tension by May 6th. So Monday, May 6th, the moon's going to enter Taurus, and then we're going to have Mercury and Aries making a conjunction to Chiron. I don't believe this is the first conjunction that Mercury's made to Chiron. So I'm trying to see if there was another day that I believe it was around April 16th. Let me see if that's accurate though. I will look on the chart right now. April 16th, yeah, we had Mercury and Chiron making a conjunction when Mercury was retrograde. And then we had another one, I think it looks like around March 20th. And so think about that time period, because there were things that were activated during that time. And now we're finishing up some of that story with the mercurial influence. So whatever was activated around March 20th And then again, around that April 16th, we are now revisiting on May 6th. And this is a really good opportunity for healing some of that. I think that it's going to be really dependent on where this conjunction's hitting in your birth chart for what that story is. But, you know, this Aries energy did have a lot to do with self-confidence and learning how to hear your own voice, figure out what you want, who you are to yourself, and figuring out better ways to communicate those things. Maybe you're having more confrontational communication and you're learning how to do that in a healthy way. I think that this Mercury conjunct Chiron is an opportunity for us to do deeper work around that, more healing and reflecting on some of the themes that came up for us during that retrograde period. And hopefully for a lot of us, it's a clarity transit versus something where we feel a lot of pain. Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron's the planet that represents wounds that need healing. And in Aries, there's a lot around identity and personal autonomy and self-confidence. Mercury represents that perception of self in Aries. And so what are we healing around our perception of self? What do we need to take accountability on? What do we need to take initiative on in our relationship dynamics with ourselves and with others? What is our relationship to healthy confrontational communication? Is that something that we need to work on? I recommended these books. These books for the Mercury retrograde I was reading. I did not finish them. I need to revisit them, but I hear you. The surprisingly simple skill behind extraordinary relationships, and then communicate your feelings without starting a fight. I've been trying to work on this stuff. I'm still not perfect at it. I think that this is a really positive way, though, to channel some of that energy that comes up. You know, if you feel like you're confused about ways that you can improve communication, you know, get a book. There's lots of books written on how to be more effective in your life and around your relationship dynamics, but you're never going to know if you don't, you know, apply yourself and do that work. That day on the 6th, we also have the sun making a harmonious aspect to Saturn and Pisces. So the sun in Taurus is going to make a sextile to Saturn and Pisces. I personally love this energy. I love it when Pisces and Taurus are in aspect to each other with a transit like this, because it brings a lot of artistic and creative energy to the forefront. So those of us that are artists or musicians, poets, writers, even people that do landscaping or design, you know, that type of stuff, tattooing, any of your kind of more creative endeavors are emphasized during this week, the beginning of this week, and you might feel a creative boost of energy. So it's really positive for us to channel into those projects, which I'm really excited about. I have a lot of stuff like that I'm working on right now, and I got a little bit derailed last week. So seeing this energy is really exciting for me. So hopefully, you know, we all are feeling really inspired creatively to move forward. And then on May 7th, we have our new moon at 18 degrees of Taurus. And the moon is actually really positively expressed in Taurus. Taurus is the fixed earth sign of the zodiac, and the moon is considered to be exalted in Taurus, which means that it enjoys being there and it functions really well there. I don't know if you are watching this, you have that much experience or knowledge around the signs, but two signs that are very similar to me and make a sextile to each other are Taurus and Cancer. And the moon actually rules Cancer. And one of the things that I always find really entertaining about Taurus and Cancer is they have really similar love languages when it comes to wanting to nurture people through memories, comfort, food. They just have a very similar way that they enjoy being there for people, and also the way that they kind of relate to the past is really similar. And so personally for me, I actually really enjoy being around people that have their moon in Taurus. It's a really comforting energy to me. I feel like this is a really positive day to do things that you feel nurture yourself, your health. Like this is a really good money and health focused energy. I think of the Empress card in the tarot where she, in the Mother Peace deck, I relate a lot to the image on the Mother Peace deck, even though I have no energy in Taurus. My Venus is in Libra, and Venus in Libra can also be the Empress card because the Empress card is just ruled by Venus. But Venus in Taurus just, or the moon in Taurus and Venus in Taurus, I just feel very much this image all the time. And it's just so good. She's this black haired, topless woman with a leopard blanket, and she's in this green field and she's just lavishing herself. I even have a mirror that my friend gave me like that I use to do my eyeliner. And, she's just hanging out in nature, having a good time, loving on herself and just feeling herself. And I think that this new moon in Taurus is a really great time to do acts of self-love and nurturing, or, even connecting with your partner or people that make you happy. I also think that this is a great time. So new moons are, positive for setting intentions. And so you want to look at your chart and see wherever you have this moon hitting, because it's a good time to set intentions there. But it's also a great time to set intentions around health and work. And so if you are wanting to manifest a job into your life, or money, or just new opportunities in those arenas, that's also a really positive way to set intentions. Let's see. We also have that moon in the morning making a conjunction to Venus. It's going to sextile Saturn in Pisces before it makes its exact conjunction in the evening with the sun. So we should be feeling pretty good on the 7th. Depending on what you have in Taurus in your chart. I'm definitely going to make a note that I need to go buy some candles for this one, because this is going to be a good day for manifestation. So mark your calendars, May 7th, a great day for manifestation in the evening. Wednesday, the 8th, the moon is going to move out of Taurus and enter Gemini in the afternoon. So we'll have the moon in Gemini for a couple days. And we really don't have any exact big transits for the rest of the week. We just have the moon in Gemini, and then it enters Cancer on the 10th, and then it'll be in Cancer until it looks like the 13th. So we have Mother's Day on the 12th, which I actually really love to see that the moon is going to be in Cancer on Mother's Day, because again, I said the moon is exalted, in Taurus, and shares kind of this similar relationship to Cancer, and the moon is the ruler of Cancer. And so on Mother's Day, the moon is going to be in its home sign of Cancer, and Cancer, that energy represents, it's related to the mother. So I just love that. I think that's a really fun thing. Alrighty, on May 13th, we start the week off with the moon finishing up its time in Cancer before entering Leo in the early hours of the day. And then we have the sun also making a conjunction to Uranus and Taurus. Sun conjunction to Taurus, the sun a lot of times represents identity and our ego and our sense of self. It also can kind of highlight where we're feeling energized. Uranus represents drastic change. And so the sun, we set this intention the week before on things we want to call into our life. And when sun conjunct Uranus, there might be some surprise opportunity or some kind of surprise change that's happening in our lives. This could be very ungrounding for us and discombobulating. It's not necessarily a bad change, but sometimes it is. Sometimes a lot of times Uranus transit doesn't always feel that great. Uranus is considered to be the agent of chaos and destruction, but it also has an element of surprise. And so there could be, a potential opportunity that you get that you were not expecting. That's really great. You equally could get something, that you're like, I was not expecting this. This is not what I wanted. So, just things to think about. I do think that the transits are so positive though over the last couple of days. It's hard for me to imagine. I mean, it's not hard for me to imagine, but it's like my intuition wants to say that it's going to be a positive transit for a lot of people. Just depends on where it's hitting in your chart and what it's aspecting. We also have another really positive transit this day where Venus in Taurus is going to make a harmonious sextile to Saturn in Pisces. Really positive energy for establishing more commitment in a relationship. So if you're in a relationship where you want to take things to the next level and you're wanting more commitment, more clarity is not the word because Saturn's in Pisces. I'm thinking more of a union between what's practical and what's romantic. That's something that I think Venus and Taurus sextiling Saturn in Pisces is really good with. We could get caught up in the lovey-dovey, like this is really fun right now feelings, but if we're speaking honestly and truthfully, having the moon in Leo during this time too, we feel a lot of romantic energy and a lot of desire for connection, and it could be really positive for relationship dynamics. This is also really positive energy for creatives and artists. It's a great time to work on any kind of creative project and really harness that energy. The next couple of days, Venus will continue to be in Leo. And then on Wednesday, the 15th, Mercury is going to enter the fixed sign of Taurus and finally leave Aries. So let's reflect. We had Mercury in Aries since March 9th. And so it's been a long time. It's been almost 2 months that we've had Mercury in the really intense energy of Aries. And now it's going to be entering the fixed earth sign of Taurus and joining that Taurus party. And Mercury in Taurus is very slow and methodical. So it's less reactive. It doesn't necessarily want to just make decisions in the heat of the moment or the heat of the feeling. It wants to think about it and move more practically, move more, it wants to communicate in a slower way as well, a more simplified way. Taurus is a lot more simplified. Aries can be simplified too. So it's not that isn't there, but Mercury in Taurus wants to be simplified and practical rather than reactive. Mercury is actually going to have a pretty short stint now that it's direct in Taurus. It's going to be kind of back on its regular schedule. So we'll have Mercury in Taurus for the rest of May, but it's only going to be there for a couple more days once we enter June. The moon on this day is also going to be entering Virgo. So we're going to have a lot of earth energy. The moon in Virgo, I actually personally really like. It's a really great energy for getting things done. So we're going to, moon in Virgo, Mercury entering Taurus, sun in Taurus, Venus in Taurus. So there's a lot of desire to get a lot done and figure a lot out and just get to work. So we're going to feel a boost in that way. Our next major transit is Friday the 17th with Mercury in Taurus squaring that Pluto in Aquarius. So again, we are seeing more changes that need to be made potentially in how we're communicating what we need to get across. So there could be communication around finances, having Mercury in Taurus with Venus in Taurus as well. We could see that there's definitely some need to maybe transmute or transform some way that we've been thinking about something. Maybe there was a way that we thought something was going to go and it made sense at the time. And now that we're doing more of the methodical planning out, we're realizing that needs to be changed. So there's going to be some kind of change happening. And one of the things that happens a lot of times during difficult Mercury transits is it kind of feels like Mercury retrograde. So I could see Friday the 17th, it feeling like Mercury retrograde with this square to Pluto. We have a lot of aspects with the moon to all of the Taurus energy. So, because I keep kind of forgetting that we have this giant stellium in Taurus happening. So it's going to be the moon making all these fast aspects to Venus, Uranus, the sun, and Jupiter in Taurus. So a lot of energy here, a lot of changes in our relationship dynamics, a lot of changes and expansion and growth in how we're communicating and how we're applying ourselves. And it's a good time for work projects that require a lot of organization and attention to detail. On Saturday, the 18th, the moon is going to enter Libra. We're going to have Venus in Taurus making a conjunction to Uranus in Taurus and the sun in Taurus making a conjunction to Jupiter in Taurus. So this is an interesting day, Saturday the 18th, because we do see a lot of energy around feeling like we want or need major change and major growth in our life. This is also a day where we might have a lot of opportunities or surprise opportunities that we weren't necessarily expecting, but maybe they're results of some of the intentions that we set in the past. I just see this new moon that we have at the beginning of the month mixed with all of this opportunity energy. Like there is a lot of potential for us to really call in and manifest some major things that we need. If you need a job, if you need some kind of big break, I could see maybe in the month where that begins to happen for you. It's going to require though, with prayer, there has to be action, right? So with manifestation, there has to be action. We have to be sure that we're working on ourselves so that when those opportunities come, we are ready to meet them. So divine prayer has to match divine action, if that makes sense. It's been on my mind a lot. I've been having so many thoughts about all of that. And it's something that I think about. I've thought about a lot as a kid, but I feel like lately it's been on my mind even more just recently. Sunday the 19th, we're going to have the sun making a harmonious sextile to Neptune in Pisces. Great energy for creatives and artists. That May is such a great energy for people that are really career oriented and want to be really successful and kind of move through whatever work stuff they're doing in a positive way. And then also, what was I going to say about that? Oh, and then anybody that's artistic creatively, like music, painting, poetry, writing, all of it. It's just such a positive month for making progress on a lot of those things. Also, relationships, it seems like there's a lot of positive energy for connecting to relationship partners in a way that, you know, is more evolved or pushing you into another chapter that maybe is requiring more conversations around commitment or, you know, the practical side of relationship. What do you need? What do you want? You know, what is grounding the relationship? What's the give and take of the relationship dynamic? On Monday, the 20th, the sun is going to leave Taurus and enter the mutable sign of Gemini. So happy birthday, Geminis. Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac that rules the third house. And it's the sign that has a lot to do with how we relate to how we learn things in a simplified way. It rules communication and how we are taking in information. So we're going to have kind of a big shift. You know, Taurus is kind of like we're here stabilizing things, working hard, getting things in order. And then Gemini is here, you know, kind of analyzing everything and examining it. On this day, we're also going to have the moon entering the fixed sign of Scorpio. It's kind of interesting. I always feel like Geminis and Scorpios really connect and bond. Those two energies are so different, but I've watched kind of just complement each other really well. So I find it funny that the sun is going to be in Gemini and the moon's going to be entering Scorpio in the afternoon. We'll have that combination going. It's intense, you know. I would say that we might be feeling more of kind of this heightened need to have something figured out in some way, whereas before maybe we were kind of just in the flow. Now we might be feeling a little bit more what's next, you know, kind of energy. Gemini is prone to having a lot of anxiety or overthinking things. And Scorpio, moon and Scorpio can sometimes, you know, certain things come up to the surface that we are, you know, not necessarily wanting to acknowledge yet. I mean, it's a shadow work energy, intense dreams, intense feelings. We could feel a little bit irritable on the 20th, depending on where we have those things in our chart. Our next transit is going to be on Wednesday, the 22nd, when the sun in Gemini makes a trine to Pluto in Aquarius. And so again, you know, Gemini energy with the sun, we might be reflecting a lot on how we are taking in information and what our, you know, with Pluto in Aquarius and the sun in Gemini, this is a really interesting energy when it does come to our relationship to things like social media and technology and how we express ourselves in our communication around those things. And so we might be feeling a big shift collectively around that. And we might be seeing some big technology advancements or changes. We might all be talking about it. I could see a lot of people getting into arguments on the internet about things, but also I could see an elevation or elevated energy around just how you express yourself or share yourself in those modalities. On the 23rd of May, we have our full moon at 2 degrees of Sagittarius. And so, you know, full moons are a positive time for releasing and letting go, but also calling in things and manifesting things. And, you know, Gemini represents analyzing and kind of thinking about things and how we're taking in a simplified, you know, education or learning, you know, how we put words together, how we think about things. And Sagittarius is where we start to get more into the inquisitive side, where we're seeking deeper understanding. So in Gemini, we might learn how to write our name. We might learn math, 2 + 2 = 4. We might learn the facts about something, and we are just told, this is how it is. In Sagittarius, we start to get inquisitive about that. We start to go, but why? Why is it that way? What else is there? Okay, I can write my name, but why do I even have a name? Why do I want to write my name? What's the point? What's the meaning behind it? So the Gemini Sagittarius axis, I personally very much enjoy because I have a lot of that energy personally in my chart. And when we have that energy heightened in a full moon, it's calling to us to ask, those questions. What are my values? What are my beliefs? What is the why behind what I'm doing? What are the facts of a situation? And how do I utilize those things to call in or release whatever is going on in my life? So you can look in your chart and see where you have 2 degrees of Gemini and 2 degrees of Sagittarius, and that's where that's highlighted for you. You're definitely going to be in a position of kind of reflecting on what's in alignment for you at this time, what's not in alignment for you at this time, what needs to go, what needs to be said, what needs to be sorted out. These are all themes for the full moon on the 23rd. We have quite a few transits also happening on the 23rd. Venus is going to make a couple aspects before entering Gemini on this day too. So we have Venus in Taurus making a conjunction to Jupiter. And then we have Venus in Taurus making a sextile to Neptune in Pisces. And so again, this is a really positive energy for expansion and growth within our artistic and creative projects. There's a lot of energy enhanced that way. But Venus also rules romantic relationships, and she can also, connect us to our friendships and those things. So there's also, and she rules money. So there's also a lot of themes around that coming up. Venus making a conjunction to Jupiter, we could want a lot of growth and expansion when it comes to commitment in relationships and whether or not we are feeling pleasure or joy in relationships. And then also there's an emphasis on maybe spending too much money, but we could also be calling in a lot of money. Venus sextile Neptune in Pisces is a really good artistic energy. It's also a really good energy for dreaming up what we want out of our relationships. If you are single and you're thinking about, wanting to call in the person that you want, this is an energy where you could set those intentions and really envision kind of the perfect person for you and call it in potentially. If you're already partnered, married, or, in a relationship, this is a really positive time for you to maybe set intentions around what you want to manifest more of into that relationship in a positive way. It's also a really lovey energy and lovey-dovey energy. So you might just feel like you want to have a date day or do something sensual with your partner, and if that's supported. Venus is entering Gemini, and she's the esoteric ruler of Gemini. I actually really enjoy Venus and Gemini energy. It's a great time for connecting through communication, and she's going to be in Gemini, it looks like, until the middle of June. So we'll have her there for a little bit. Jupiter is going to be sextiling Neptune in Pisces also on the 23rd. So this is a big day. The 23rd is a very big astrological day for all of these shifts of energy and these transits. So Jupiter in Taurus sextiling Neptune in Pisces is also a really great energy for art. And also, this is just such a positive day for manifestation, I feel like. I mean, full moons can be used to release and let go of things that are no longer serving us. But most of these transits are really leaning towards calling things in that we want into physical existence. It's a great energy for envisioning what we want our future to be and taking right action. Friday, we're going to continue to have the moon finishing up in Sagittarius. And then on the 25th, on Saturday, the moon is going to enter Capricorn. We also have Venus making a trine to Pluto in Aquarius. So again, Venus in Gemini really wants to communicate and connect through communication and connect through ideas. And making a trine to Pluto in Aquarius, we might be experiencing some change or shifts even around our perception and our relationship dynamics. So, it's positive. It's like maybe we had a perception of a relationship, and then as we've evolved and we've grown and we've done work on ourselves, that perception is starting to evolve and change and grow. And maybe that's a positive thing. Maybe we're reflecting a lot on how we've communicated. Maybe we're reflecting a lot on who we want to be in relationships through communication moving forward. This could also have to do with friendship circles. Maybe we feel like we are wanting to be more social and connect with people more directly. Maybe we're open to meeting new people. There's a lot of social energy in the air. Jupiter is also entering Gemini on Saturday, the 25th. So Jupiter's been in Taurus for the last year, and now it's starting a completely new cycle in Gemini. And let's see how long Jupiter's going to be in Gemini. We'll have Jupiter in Gemini until June of 2025. So Jupiter is not considered to be, it's hard because everything I've read about Jupiter for the most part is that Jupiter can thrive and do well in pretty much any sign, because Jupiter is the greater benefic. It's considered to be just a big, abundant, positive energy wherever it is. But, Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. And so Gemini is the opposite of what Jupiter is comfortable in. So it's still considered to be in detriment in Gemini. I think that Jupiter in Gemini is going to be such a positive time for us growing and expanding beyond where we have been in terms of how we think about things. And so when they talk about like collective consciousness evolving and growing, Taurus, is a comfort zone sign. Taurus is fixed. It likes to stabilize and it likes to stay put. Jupiter has been, Jupiter with Uranus has been pushing us out of comfort zones and trying to get us to evolve beyond where we've been. And then Jupiter in Gemini is like, okay, let's start filling the mind with some new learning, some new things, some new facts, some new ideas. So we are going to, over the next year, probably collectively as a human consciousness, be evolving with the times. I think about like all these transitions throughout history, where if you think about, probably when electricity was introduced, like the collective consciousness, that was a big deal. We think about the things like the Great Depression and how that was affecting the collective consciousness. World War II, how that was affecting the collective consciousness. The introduction to, motorized vehicles, TV, the radio, like think of all these advancements in technology and how it's affected the world. It's completely changed the world. I am sitting here doing this video and able to share what I think in my little apartment to many people that live everywhere because of advancements in technology. And so Pluto in Aquarius with Jupiter in Gemini, and some of these previous transits that we've had that are kind of these definitive markers in time where we're watching these advancements happen as a collective. We're going to be seeing a lot of that over the next year in a way that we've never seen it before, for better or worse. Aquarius, I think, tends to have this perception that everything is for the best, road to hell paved with good intentions. And sometimes there's really good things that come out of these big changes, and sometimes things were maybe we needed to take a little bit of the past with us and learn from things. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that's all playing out. And at this point now we have a big stellium in Gemini starting, because we have Venus in Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini, the Sun in Gemini, and I think that's it. Actually, it's not quite as big as I was being led to believe here, because Mercury is going to enter Gemini in June, so we won't have that until June. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next week. We have on the 27th Memorial Day, and the moon is going to enter Aquarius. And then we have Mercury in Taurus making a harmonious sextile to Saturn in Pisces. Again, the mercurial mind and this grounded energy of Taurus making a harmonious aspect to Saturn in Pisces, which is this mutable water energy. And so I personally, again, think this is a great artistic energy. I write songs and music. I really like this energy for that. It's also really positive for painting, drawing, writing, anything that you feel like you're channeling kind of these ideas from the imaginal realm and putting them into the physical. It's a really positive energy for that. It's a really good energy for seeing a vision of something that hasn't been formed yet and finding a way to bring it out of the vision into reality. We don't have another major transit happening until Wednesday, the 29th, where Mars in Aries is going to make a conjunction to Chiron in Aries, and then the moon is going to be entering Pisces. And so Mars conjunct Chiron might be one of the transits of May that feels the most uncomfortable. But I think that if we're working a lot on our self-awareness around where we take action and where we don't take action around our own healing, this could be a really positive energy. So Chiron, again, wounded healer, an energy in the chart that, we're feeling pain around. And, in Aries, there's an identity wound happening. And so with Mars in Aries joining this Chiron, Mars sometimes brings up those things in the most uncomfortable way. And we're like, ooh, there's some shadow work I need to do. And I really don't want to feel that or look at it. It could come, I feel like fire signs, we tend to need a lot of humility. Like we get knocked on our butts really hard because we have a tendency to come in hot and be kind of arrogant and high and mighty. And there's a lot of humility that has to be gained from that. And so a Mars Aries conjunction to Chiron in Aries, I could see humility being something that we need to be reflecting on. And there might be circumstances that bring us down a few pegs, especially if we've been like spending this whole month with all these opportunities and maybe we feel like we're, climbing some, success ladder within ourselves or even, literally within our life. And then we hit this point where maybe there's some imposter syndrome or we make a mistake. And we have to remember to slow down and be cautious with how we respond and react to things. I think that's still a big theme here for sure. On Thursday, the 30th, we're going to have Mercury in Taurus making a conjunction to Uranus in Taurus. Mercury conjunction to Uranus is interesting in terms of our perspectives changing, and maybe we have sudden ideas or insights, breakthrough. It's a very like breakthrough type energy. We could be feeling like we're ready to make a major change again in some way. There's so much energy around change this year. And I think that the beginning of the year, there's just a lot of change. And so this has to do with even just how we're perceiving reality. Our perception of reality is altered or changed in some way on the 30th. And we might even experience some ungrounded communication during that time. On our last day of May, we are going to have the moon in Pisces, and we're going to see Mercury still conjoining Uranus and having that energy. And then the moon is going to enter Aries at the end of the day. So we will be entering June with the moon in Aries. All right, you guys, I'm really excited. This is a great month for manifestation and calling in opportunities that you want on many levels, relationships, work, creative projects, and learning new things. If you approach this month with just being open and having kind of a yes attitude, I think there's a lot of potential for really great things to come to fruition for a lot of us. All right, you guys, I'm going to leave you with that. And if you want to book a one-on-one session with me, you can email me at the email address that's going to be posted in the description box. I do astrology readings and tarot readings. You can also find me on the sobercurator.com and the ladyofleosure.com, and be sure to hit the like, subscribe button if you want to get notified when I post these videos every month. All right, thank you, and I wish the best of luck to all of us.